We are on the line with James Earl Jones II. He's going to be in the production Come From Away, come to the Wharton Center in East Lansing, September 10th through the 15th, 2019. It is the Michigan debut at the Wharton Center for Come From Away. James Earl Jones II, welcome him to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's awesome to be here. I love podcasts. I don't know. I'm never good with them. I don't know how to create one, but I love to do them.
Well, I think of it as just like the readers, because I'm going to write a story, obviously, for mlive.com. And
sure.
When you read stories, and you've read stories about yourself or the topics, and the writer has to do a lot of self-editing. What to include in the story, what not to include. Some writers include way too much, and you kind of get lost in it and say, I don't have to read this long story. Others don't write enough. So I figured we're going to give them enough of the story of Come From Away. But if they really want to delve in and get into the topic, they can listen to the nuances of the interview and, kind of get more details that way. So it's the best of both worlds.
All right. I can dig it.
Yeah. So first of all, I got to say, I love your voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I try my best to utilize it in the best way possible. I know I a lot of times get compared to the older, more popular cousin. But the awesome thing is that I sing, which is kind of small when you're the voice of CNN. But, singing is kind of like my only positive, the only one thing that I have over the older actor, James Earl Jones.
Yes, well, I obviously get that question a lot, and I appreciate you addressing it right away, because when in the interview do I ask him about this connection with James Earl Jones? And here's the funny thing, he has a Michigan connection, he has some Michigan ties.
He went to Ann Arbor. He worked with Dr. Shirley.
Exactly, so people love James Earl Jones here in Michigan. Have you ever been to Michigan?
I have. I actually I did Porgy and Bess at the Wharton in 2014.
So any memories from our state at all?
Well, I think the most awesome thing about East Lansing, because I had performed in Saugatuck before, and I performed, it's right by Grand Rapids, but the one awesome thing about East Lansing is because it's a college town, it has some restaurants that I don't find frequently in various places. Like, you guys have a Pancheros, and I know it seems like a small deal to you, but Pancheros rocks my world, and we don't have them in Chicago anymore. So it's really awesome, and people are like, oh man, you're coming to East Lansing, it's going to be awesome. I'm like, that's right, I'm going straight to Pancheros.
I love it. So I'm going to challenge you, when you're in town for this production at the Wharton Center, check out a place called El Azteca, and it's a legendary college hangout, but they have this salad called a Topopo salad that you would not believe. That feeds enough, bring the whole cast, I mean, everyone can eat the salad.
Okay.
It's got peas, lettuce, special dressing. Then there's some chips in there as well, and some chicken, and it's the most amazing. It's considered like a taco salad almost.
Okay.
It's its own creation. It's one of a kind. You won't get it anywhere else. You might. And they have other beverages as well. So if you need a tequila night or a margarita night, they have those too. So it's got a little bit of everything. Interesting location. Not far from the campus and not far from the venue. So. There you go.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So anyway, James Earl Jones II coming to the Wharton Center in East Lansing. Let's get to this show right away, because I have not seen it, so it'll be my first time as well. Like I said, it's making the Michigan debut at the Wharton Center. A lot of people maybe here in Michigan haven't heard of it yet. So give us the brief synopsis, and let's delve into it, because it's a fascinating show.
Right. So a lot of times people think that it is the 9/11 musical, which it is not. It is actually about the 5 days following the 9/11 event. And what happened is that a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know, so it's okay that a lot of people don't know that when September 11th happened, all the planes throughout the U.S. were grounded. The FAA ordered all planes to be grounded. Nothing nothing was to be allowed into the city. It is because of that reason that 38 planes with 7,000 passengers from all over the world were told to land in Gander, Newfoundland, which is a town of only 9,000. So essentially, in 3 hours' time, 38 planes doubled the population of that town. And although the community didn't have to do anything, they got everybody off of the planes, gave them food, water, shelter, clothing, ways to reach their loved ones wherever they were from, and essentially showed these people, showed these strangers the best of humanity, while we had just been dealt a blow from the worst of humanity.
The story, I mean, you couldn't make that up. It's a true story. It's based on these events that have shaped our lives today and will forever shape our lives. So in that sense, that's what makes just the premise of the musical compelling. But when you really think about it, and obviously this tour, this national tour, that's a couple years removed from the Broadway debut and several years removed from when it was around the country getting workshopped and so forth. To see it all come together, and I guess we're talking Canada, we're talking cultures from all over the world, and everyone's got to kind of figure it out. And I would imagine that's what makes this musical so compelling. Why people are talking about it, why it's sold out everywhere, and why people why it wins awards, right?
Absolutely. I think that the reason it's kind of interesting. People always ask, like, why do people jump to their feet? Why do people rise to their feet? They jump up so fast. Like, what is it about this show? And I think the bottom line is that our message is hands down one of the most universal messages that you can possibly receive from a piece of art during this time, and probably ever, because the show discusses kindness and tolerance and understanding and compassion and joy and acceptance. It's like these things that people, that everyone should practice, that makes people smile more, that makes people hug more, that makes people shake someone's hand, that makes people acknowledge someone. Those reasons alone, the things that you witness in this show, are why people get up. Yes, they get up because hopefully we've done our job, the actors, the band, the crew, but also because they're standing up for that universal message, something that made them feel good. Hopefully we did a great job, but at the end of the day, it really is about, like, how this message of kindness moves people to stand.
Right. Now, if I remember correctly, this was written by a couple, right? Is this a couple?
Yes, a married couple, David Hine and Irene Sankoff.
And their credits up to that point, before writing this, weren't like, I guess, that they were going to be the next major writers to come out of Broadway, right?
Right. They it's it's like he had. David had this musical, My Mother's Jewish Lesbian Wiccan Wedding,
right?
And I hadn't heard of it, and although, to be fair, I'm not plugged into
Sure.
the New York world as much, only because as I am true Chicago, like I do stuff in Chicago, and I didn't know anything about that musical. I didn't know about David and Irene, but I think that is kind of the beauty of it. Is that everything about this show really kind of like embodies the people, right? Like, Come From Away, the show isn't huge and epic, and the world the world abroad doesn't know that our show necessarily exists. It's a sleeper to a degree.
Right.
It is a word of mouth show. But you know what? It's like that show, kind of like David and Irene. Like once you see it, once you hear it, like once someone heard their concept, like you couldn't help but want to tell this show on a larger stage, on a larger scale, and to as many people as possible.
Well, we're breaking up a little bit. I hope I don't lose you. I know you play the character of Bob. Can you just give me a quick rundown of who is Bob and what happens to him a little bit in the show?
Oh, sure. So Bob is actually based on a guy from Jersey named Tom McKeown, and he is the skeptic New Yorker. So he is, he's cautious, right? He's just like, good things don't just come without something attached. Like, what's going on? Plus, he's surrounded by people who honestly don't look like him, right? So it's like, oh boy, I'm surrounded by people who don't look like me. I'm already a little apprehensive, and it's one of those things where his arc throughout the show is coming to understand that these people are kind for no other reason but just to be kind. They're just good people, and I think that is awesome. Now, obviously, we all play various characters. I probably play about 6 or 7 more characters.
Okay.
Some have more lines, some have less, but I think that overall, the 12 actors play about 70, 75 characters.
Wow, that's incredible. And the ones that play the locals, I was really fascinated. I went to the website, comefromaway.com, which really tells the story. There's plenty of information there, but I found the segment of the website, and I don't know if you've been on it in a long time, and I'm curious. I think it said it was the setting, and there was a little like game you could play, like with the local, sayings were for different things, the language,
sure,
of the community.
Yeah,
is that part of the show?
They definitely. I think that you hear within the show the locals' dialect and their own language, because they absolutely have an entire language. Like, I went to Gander,
right,
and I have a book that's essentially like the Gander definition book,
right.
And it's I was screeched in, and there were sayings that we were required to say, and I was like, I'll never say this again anywhere in the world, but while I'm here, I'll say it, and it is really kind of amazing to hear it, because I think when you think about Canada, if you just have a very broad outlook of Canadians, then you're just saying, well, they just have a slightly different dialect, right? Like you go someplace else and you say, well, we say about, they say sometimes a boot. There are some
right.
people, right? There's, someone says we're going out and they say we're going out. So you think, well, they're just various dialect shifts, but it's not really a thing. But it really is a thing. Like in Gander, there's a whole different way. And Brian Mosier, who is what Janice Mosier is based off of, Brian and Janice, who was a new reporter, a new journalist. He would say a couple of sayings to me when I first met him in Seattle, and while he was saying it, I think he thought that, I don't know, maybe he thought for some odd reason I understood him, and I was like, no, I have no idea what you said, and I need you to start again. Say it much, much, much slower, and let me record it.
Hey, you kind of glossed over the screech-in. Real quick, tell people what that is, because I find it fascinating.
Yeah, so the screech-in, to be an honorary Newfoundlander, like, there are places that, I mean, you can do like a pseudo screech-in where it's like, where you're or someone like, hey, we're gonna drink some screech and maybe kiss a fake fish, but like you're not truly screeched in unless you're screeched in Gander. And I was screeched in at the Legion in Gander, amidst the people of the community, Beulah, Bonnie from the SPCA, Brian Mosier, Oz Fudge, some people from the town, and it was fairly traumatic. I don't wish it on my worst enemy, but so essentially what we do in the show is you drink a shot of screech, which is a very hard rum, and then you kiss a cod. You kiss a cod. Generally you kiss it on the lips, but I guess if you want to kiss it on its face, someplace else, feel free. Okay. But it is a real thing. It really happens. There are other elements to the actual screech-in Gander, but I can't say what it is. Okay. I feel like you have to go to Gander to really get the experience.
Well, I just doing some research, and I'll be going to opening night here in East Lansing coming up in September. I can't wait to see the show, but it makes me want to go and visit. It makes me want to go and experience it for myself, I
mean, tourism has risen, easily over 75%, because of this show. But the thing is that like the community, the entire community, they are just like the people that we characterize in the show. Sometimes people think, well, they can't really be like that. They aren't really that kind. They aren't really that nice. I was talking to Claude Elliott, who was the mayor at the time of 9/11, who orchestrated everything and got everything going. And interestingly enough, he was telling me about the Broadway cast. Before they went to Broadway, they did their show in the hockey rink in Gander, and he said there is a funny scene about grills, and I won't go into it because obviously it's my scene. But he said nobody in the audience laughed. Said no one in the audience laughed, and it was very telling because it was like, well, the people in Gander just do nice things. They don't see what the big deal is, right? So then it's like, oh, right, it's not funny to you, it's matter of fact.
Right.
Meanwhile, people other places think it's hilarious. Right. So yeah, it's just the community. I just went there about 5 weeks ago, and I went to the bread box and I had Towton for the first time, and I met the author of Commander Gander Goes to Come From Away, and I tell you, it's like everywhere you go, there's like the Newfoundland Dog Company pop-up shop, Dover Fault, Twillin Gate, where Claude is from, Chasing Icebergs, hanging out. Oz picked me up from the airport 3:15 in the morning. I went and stayed with Beulah. She had a spare room set up for me. These people are the real deal.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the cool things, actually, now that I have this platform, is that I can say we raised money in Cleveland they have a spot called the Legion. That's where the people volunteer. It's a place set up for the veterans, the firefighters, the police officers, and that's where I was screeched in. And it is in desperate need of repair. So we did a cabaret to raise money. Our producers matched what we raised, and we ended up sending I'd say about 17,000. But we're still trying to raise money. We're still going to be, if there's a way for people to don't be afraid to reach out to Beulah, Oz, any of the people in Gander on Facebook, because they love Facebook. Nothing makes them happier.
That's awesome.
And just say, hey, what can we do to help? What can we do? Because, it's what a sad thought that someone could be doing the show about getting screeched in at the Legion, and the Legion no longer exists.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. No,
So
that's amazing that you and others from the cast have taken on to support that community. Hey, one thing. We're talking to James Earl Jones II. He will be here at the Wharton Center in East Lansing. The show has come from away, which of course you'll find out what that means if you go see the show, because it does have a tie to the community there. WhartonCenter.com for tickets. I'm sure it hasn't. You haven't missed the fact that when you are going to be here in Michigan at East Lansing and Michigan State, you will be here on September 11th. Have you performed this show on 9/11 before?
we have not, because we were still rehearsing the show.
Okay.
We didn't start performing the show until October. So it's going to be pretty momentous for us. And incidentally, at the very same time that we're doing the show, there is a documentary called You Are Here, and it is being released in the States. It's already available in Canada, but it is being released in the States on September 11th, and it's an amazing documentary, and it features the real people telling this story. So it sounds like the musical, except you're watching the real people. Wow. and it's amazing. So it's going to be released in the States. I think it's going to be. I think you can go to like Fathom Events, I believe. But
sure.
if not, I encourage everyone to find that film, because it is amazing. I've seen it. I can't tell you how breathtaking it is. Like, I saw it with the actual people from Gander. We saw it in Seattle. Our producers in Seattle, Kenny and Marlene Al-Hadif, they have a movie theater there, and they did a screening of it, and we watched it with the actual people from Gander and the Come From Aways. And it was amazing. I encourage anyone and everyone, if you love our show, or you love the music, or any of it really moves you, I encourage you, please see that film, because it's great, and it's moving, and it really gives you even a deeper understanding and knowledge than our show could do.
Well, I thank you so much for your time. I know that do you have a show today, or are you off today?
We had a show earlier today, and then we're having another one at 7:30.
Okay, well, I'll let you get a little break here, but I appreciate you taking the time with us. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Oh man, you know what? I love the fact that East Lansing really isn't that far from Chicago, so I'm hoping that Chicago people that didn't get a chance to see it will make a drive up there, and hopefully, if everyone can send good vibes to my daughter. She's a budding performer starting her freshman year at Shy Arts here in Chicago, and I want to encourage her and uplift her as much as possible. So if anyone just feels like being like, you know what, let's just say a good vibe for Samaje Jones, that would be great, because she's awesome.
I've never had that. That's great. Can you give some love to my daughter starting new school? That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to see the show. All of Michigan can't wait to see the show, and all of Chicago, if they missed it, can come to East Lansing and see the show. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.